The relationship between Iran and Israel is deeply complex, marked by decades of mistrust, animosity, and intermittent conflict. This enmity has roots that stretch back to the mid-20th century, evolving through various political, social, and military phases. Understanding this intricate dynamic requires delving into the historical background, examining key events, and recognizing the pivotal moments that have shaped the current state of affairs. Additionally, it is crucial to acknowledge the global implications of this enduring rivalry, as it affects not just the Middle East, but also international relations and global security. This essay aims to provide an informative overview of the conflict, encouraging readers to stay informed and engage respectfully with this multifaceted issue. By understanding the nuances, one can better appreciate the complexities involved. The conflict between Iran and Israel is not a simple bilateral dispute but rather a multifaceted entanglement with regional and global consequences. It involves a myriad of factors that go beyond mere territorial disputes. It is fueled by historical grievances, ideological differences, geopolitical ambitions, and security concerns. These elements intertwine to create a volatile and often unpredictable situation. At its core, the conflict revolves around the fundamental question of Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state in the Middle East, a notion that Iran, under its current theocratic regime, vehemently opposes. This ideological clash is a significant driver of the ongoing tension. Iran's opposition is not merely rhetorical, it is backed by substantial political and military efforts aimed at undermining Israel's position in the region. The conflict has manifested itself in various forms, ranging from direct military confrontations to proxy wars, terrorist attacks, cyber warfare, and a relentless propaganda campaign. Each of these forms of conflict adds another layer of complexity to the situation. Proxy wars in particular have become a prominent feature, with both nations supporting opposing factions in countries like Syria and Lebanon. This indirect form of warfare allows them to exert influence without engaging in direct conflict. The relentless propaganda campaign waged by both sides serves to further entrench their positions, making compromise and dialogue increasingly difficult. Both sides have accused each other of seeking the other's destruction, further deepening the chasm of mistrust and animosity. These accusations are not just political rhetoric, they reflect deeply held beliefs and fears. This deep-seated hostility has hindered any meaningful dialogue or attempts at reconciliation, perpetuating a cycle of violence and instability in the region. Efforts at peace talks have repeatedly failed, often due to mutual suspicion and external pressures. The ongoing conflict has created a situation where both nations are in a constant state of alert, ready to respond to perceived threats at a moment's notice. This perpetual state of tension perpetuates a cycle of violence and instability in the region, affecting not just Iran and Israel, but also their neighbors and the broader international community. The conflict is further complicated by the involvement of external actors, each with their own interests and agendas. These external influences often exacerbate the situation, making resolution even more challenging. Each external actor brings its own set of priorities and strategies, often leading to a complex web of alliances and rivalries that further entangle the primary conflict. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, has long viewed Iran as a rogue state and a threat to regional stability. This perspective has shaped U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East for decades. On the other hand, Russia has emerged as a key supporter of Iran, providing diplomatic cover and military assistance. This support has been crucial for Iran in maintaining its stance against Israel. The alliance between Iran and Russia is a strategic one, aimed at countering U.S. influence in the region and supporting mutual interests. This intricate web of alliances and rivalries has transformed the conflict into a proxy war, with each side seeking to advance its interests through regional proxies. These proxy battles often serve as a testing ground for new tactics and technologies. The ongoing proxy wars and strategic military movements in the Middle East highlight the ever-evolving nature of this conflict, making it one of the most complex and enduring rivalries in modern history.
The seeds of the current conflict were sown long before the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979. The geopolitical landscape of the Middle East was already complex and fraught with tension, setting the stage for future discord. Ironically, prior to the revolution, Iran and Israel enjoyed relatively cordial relations. These ties were not just diplomatic, but also involved significant economic and military cooperation. The Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, saw Israel as a strategic ally in the region, sharing common interests in containing Arab nationalism and Soviet influence. This alliance was part of a broader strategy to maintain regional stability and counterbalance the influence of other powerful nations. Israel, in turn, viewed Iran as a valuable economic partner and a bulwark against its Arab adversaries. The mutual benefits of this relationship were clear, as both nations sought to strengthen their positions in a volatile region. This period of cooperation witnessed significant economic and military ties between the two countries. Trade flourished and both nations reaped the benefits of their collaboration. Israel provided Iran with military hardware, intelligence sharing, and even assistance in developing its nuclear program. These exchanges were pivotal in bolstering Iran's military capabilities and securing its position in the region. However, this alliance was built on shaky foundations as it lacked genuine popular support in Iran. Many Iranians were skeptical of the Shah's close ties with Israel, viewing them as a betrayal of Islamic and nationalistic values. Many Iranians, particularly the religious class, harbored deep resentment towards Israel, viewing it as an illegitimate entity and a symbol of Western imperialism. This sentiment was further fueled by the perception that the Shah's regime was a puppet of Western powers. The Islamic Revolution of 1979 marked a dramatic turning point in the relationship. The overthrow of the Shah and the rise of Ayatollah Khomeini brought a radical shift in Iran's foreign policy. The revolution, led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, transformed Iran from a pro-Western monarchy into an Islamic republic fiercely opposed to Israel's existence. Khomeini's vision for Iran was rooted in Islamic principles and a staunch opposition to Western influence. Khomeini's revolutionary ideology viewed Israel as an illegitimate entity and a cancerous tumor that needed to be removed from the Middle East. This rhetoric resonated with many Iranians who had long felt marginalized and oppressed by the Shah's regime. This marked the beginning of a new era of hostility and confrontation between the two countries. The once cordial relations were replaced by deep-seated animosity, setting the stage for decades of conflict and tension that continue to shape the region today.
The 1979 revolution in Iran had profound geopolitical ramifications, upsetting the delicate balance of power in the Middle East. The fall of the Shah and the rise of an Islamic republic sent shockwaves throughout the region, particularly among Arab states allied with the West. Israel, which had enjoyed a period of relative security following the 1973 Yom Kippur War, now faced a new and ideologically driven adversary in Tehran. The Iranian Revolution also fueled the rise of political Islam, inspiring Islamist movements across the Middle East and beyond. Groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Palestine, both vehemently opposed to Israel's existence, found a powerful patron in Tehran, which provided them with financial, military, and logistical support. This support emboldened these groups to escalate their armed struggle against Israel, further destabilizing the region. The Iran-Iraq War from 1980 to 1988 further exacerbated tensions between Iran and Israel. While not directly involved in the conflict, Israel provided covert military assistance to Saddam Hussein's Iraq, viewing a weakened Iran as being in its national interest. This clandestine support, while limited in scope, further fueled Iran's animosity towards Israel, reinforcing its perception of Israel as an enemy actively plotting against it.
Section 4, Flashpoint Gaza, a catalyst for escalation. The Gaza Strip, a densely populated Palestinian territory bordering Israel and Egypt, has emerged as a major flashpoint in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This small strip of land, home to nearly 2 million people, is often at the center of intense and violent confrontations. It has also become a key battleground in the proxy war between Iran and Israel, with both nations vying for influence and control in the region. Hamas, the Islamist militant group that governs Gaza, has been locked in a protracted conflict with Israel. This conflict is marked by periodic outbreaks of violence, including rocket attacks, airstrikes, and ground incursions, leading to significant casualties on both sides. Iran has been a staunch supporter of Hamas, providing the group with financial aid, military training, and weapons. This support includes advanced rockets and missiles capable of striking deep inside Israeli territory, significantly enhancing Hamas's military capabilities. These rockets and missiles have been used in numerous attacks on Israeli cities and towns, causing destruction and loss of life, and prompting retaliatory strikes by the Israeli military. This support has enabled Hamas to sustain its armed struggle against Israel, maintaining a state of perpetual conflict. The ongoing violence has made it difficult for any lasting peace to be achieved in the region. Additionally, Hamas's actions have challenged the Palestinian Authority, which governs the West Bank and is engaged in a peace process with Israel. The rivalry between these two Palestinian factions further complicates efforts to achieve a unified Palestinian front in negotiations with Israel. Israel, on the other hand, views Hamas as a terrorist organization and an Iranian proxy committed to its destruction. This perception has led to a series of military operations aimed at weakening Hamas's capabilities and deterring future attacks. In response to the threat posed by Hamas, Israel has imposed a strict blockade on Gaza. This blockade restricts the flow of goods and people in and out of the territory, citing security concerns and the need to prevent the smuggling of weapons and materials that could be used for military purposes. While the blockade aims to prevent Hamas from acquiring weapons, it has also led to the development of an extensive network of smuggling tunnels. These tunnels are used to bring in goods and materials that are otherwise restricted, further complicating the security situation. The blockade has had a devastating impact on the civilian population of Gaza, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in the impoverished enclave. The restrictions have led to shortages of essential goods, including food, medicine, and building materials, making daily life a struggle for many residents. Humanitarian aid efforts continue, but the situation remains dire, with widespread poverty and suffering.
Section 5. Key Players. A Tangled Web of Alliances. The conflict between Iran and Israel is further complicated by the involvement of regional and global actors, each with its own strategic interests and allegiances. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, has long viewed Iran as a rogue state and a major threat to regional stability, particularly due to its nuclear ambitions and support for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. Russia, on the other hand, has emerged as a key supporter of Iran, driven by a complex mix of geopolitical calculations, economic interests, and a shared antipathy towards Western influence in the Middle East. Russia has provided Iran with diplomatic cover at the United Nations, shielded it from more stringent sanctions, and even engaged in joint military exercises. The European Union, while maintaining a more nuanced position, has also expressed concerns about Iran's nuclear program and its ballistic missile activities. It has, however, been more willing to engage with Iran diplomatically, seeking to revive the 2015 nuclear deal, which the United States unilaterally withdrew from in 2018.